Hi, and welcome to a coloring tutorial. I'm Sherrie Siemens, and this is for my favorite things. And I thought I would I showed it last week, kind of a watercolor look done with Copics on my blog. And so today I thought I'd do a little video tutorial for that. So I have stamped this little Pure Innocence collection owl costume on actually just regular kind of that Nina Solar White heavyweight cardstock. It's a little softer than what I usually use for Copics. I usually use the Express It, but for a watercolor kind of application, I thought I'd use something a little bit softer and thicker. So this is Nina Solar White, and I stamped it in Brilliance Sukaneko ink, and then embossed it with clear embossing detail powder. So what I did here is, you can see my little tray, is I have taken my Copic various ink refills and I have poured them, you know, little dots out here on my tray. And it doesn't matter if it dries in between before you get a chance to use it, that's okay. That's what I have done with various different colors, and the colors will be on my blog. Then I took what's typically used as a water pen, and I have filled it full of blender solution. So a big bottle like this of the Copic blender solution, that's what I've used to fill my little water pen full of. And here I have a little towel just for rubbing off excess. But this is the brush that I'm going to use to kind of paint my image. So first of all, I've got to kind of squeeze some of that blender solution down into the sponge. And you don't want to have too much blender going, so I use my little towel here to wipe off extra. So you just want a little bit, just enough to kind of blend the colors out. So I'm going to start with the base, and I've got Y31 here, and I have quite a bit of it because I use quite a bit of it in kind of this overall kind of base wash on just her little owl costume. And you can see the very first parts that you put down go down darker, and as you keep spreading it, the blender in the pen makes the color a little thinner and a little lighter. So, but this is just my base, and so I'm just being really generous with it. And yeah, I can go right over top of the lines, and that's okay. I'm going to do the wings as well. And where it would be darkest probably is where I start with my color, and then as it goes lighter, that's the last kind of color I put down. So that's just kind of the base I have going there, and it looks pretty good. Oh, don't forget about the little ears. All right. Okay. And now I'm going to move on to some of the colors. So I have chosen YR65, YG95, and E44 as kind of some base owl colors that are going to happen in the feather. And so I will start off with my YR65, and so I'm just going to get a little bit here on my blender brush. And then I'm just going to go in kind of at the tops. And to each little feather section, add some of this color. Nice and easy. All right. That looks pretty good for that, so I'm just going to wipe off the excess here. And now I'm going to pick up a little bit of the green, and I really like this color of green. This is the YG95, And again, I'm just going to add a little bit, just kind of in the tops. If it spills out into the other sections a little bit, that's okay, because they're feathers, so they're not super precise. All right, and I thought for a little bit of fun that I would add a little bit of shimmer to that green. So if I want to add a little bit more green, I'm going to grab another brush that I know that has blender in it, because I'm going to get some kind of glitter happening a little bit on the end of this brush. What I did on my palette is I mixed a little bit of YG95 with some Perfect Pearls here in the green, and I'm going to mix the two together a little bit on my palette so that I have some iridescent kind of sparkles happening. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to add a little more, and you can see how it's adding just a little bit of sheen. Just like the light is catching the feathers. So I thought that was kind of a fun. When you're playing around, it's fun to just allow yourself to really, truly just play. And then I'm going to obviously take that to my sink and wash out the glitter so that next time I use another color, I'm not transferring glitter when maybe I don't want it. All right, so back to my other water pen here. And I'm going to add a wee bit of the darker E44. So I'm going to get some of that on my brush. And here I'm just going to use this very lightly. And it's more to kind of darken up the side that maybe is a bit in shadow. So I'm pretending that the light source is going to be in this upper corner, in the right upper corner. So I'm going to deepen up some of these feathers on this side just a little bit more. Add a little bit more of that. And instead of her legs being skin colored, I'm going to use this E44 to color the legs, just like as if she has a pair of tights or leotards on. And see how I started with my darkest leg, which was my left leg, and it's a little bit darker than my right leg, and you want that because it's a little bit more in shadow, and then come back with some deeper spots that would be more in shadow, and down the inside of this leg would be a little bit more in shadow. So that's how you add a little bit of color depth with this technique. All right. Now, her skin. We haven't done her skin yet, so let's move on into skin. And I'm going to pull in some E000, really wet my brush with that, and start at the dark side and move over to my light side. So see how quickly that really light color diminishes? So you really want to make sure that you're intentional about which side you're starting with. Alright, and do the arms too. This underside would be darkest. Alright, And then I'm going to come in with a little bit of this E11 that I have for even a little bit of a darker side here. Come in with that E11 here a bit. Alright. And then her hair. So I figured my lightest color in hair will be that same E11, so I don't have to grab another bag out. So I'm just going to quickly do a little base coat with that E11. And then I'm going to come in with some of that E44 that we had used on her leggings. Might as well use some of that for her hair. And we're just going to streak that in. And go back in again on the spots that are the darkest, so like at the crown and down here. And then you can clean off your brush. And sometimes you go over a bit in spots, and so this is where I would maybe use just the plain brush without any color on it and try and push color a little bit. Push a little bit more in that highlight. Push a little bit of highlight here on the top of the arms. And a little bit of highlight on the top of the wing. So you've got blender solution that's kind of pushing things around. Now, I've noticed when I've done this that I've gone a little heavy on the leg portion. So this is when I decide, can I fix that, or am I going to cut it out? So I'm going to see if I can fix it just with my blender, see if I can push it back in. I'm doubting that I can because it's a dark color, and see how my dark color is starting then to move out into that area. So this will be an image that I end up cutting out because of what I did with the legs here. And that's, you know, part of crafting, is you kind of learn that as you're going along. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. This time the blender didn't fix that area. I mean, I could come in with like a gel pen or something with some opaque white or something like that if I really didn't want to cut it out. But for me, cutting it out is not a big deal. So I'm going to go over and finish. I'm going to finish off probably with her shoes. I'm going to make her shoes that pretty YG95 that we had going. And I'm not worrying about the edges because I know I'm going to cut it out anyway. So, but that just gives you another idea of a fun way you can use your Copics in a different kind of an application, and for more of like a watercolor look. You could also try this technique on watercolor paper, and that would work really well too. So that's it for today, and thanks for watching, and you'll see kind of a finished tag or project up on my blog to go with this. Thanks a lot.